I think what I had to also figure out for myself that was really, really important, because I constantly feel myself falling in that trap. Maybe this will sound familiar, but if we are speaking about awakening, connecting to your higher self, becoming your true self, it is very tempting to connect a tangible goal to that. Because if I can dangle the carrot in front of you, and if I can convince you that, hey, you need to go on this trajectory, you need to go on this journey because you're going to manifest all the money you want, right? Because that's out there, law of attraction. And it's very easy to connect the spiritual process or the obtainment of spiritual enlightenment because there's something you want to get out of it. And I know that many of us who are coming from the third eye, who are coming from the perspective of the soul, who are coming from wholeness, struggle with this. Because it's so easy to tempt you with shiny objects and then tell you, well, go on the spiritual path, do your meditations, see it from this way. But it almost feels like a small form of manipulation, because I'm trying to motivate you based on external factors, based on extrinsic motivation on the outside. So you're only motivated to do your inner work because there's something in your outer world that you're going to get out of it. It took me so long, and I feel I'm finally here, to get to that place where I'm really comfortable to be bold enough to tell you all your outer manifestations, all your outer wants or all your desires that are based on manifestation is all delusion. It's delusional, because at the end of the day, all you want to be is happy. Yes, of course, we want to pay our bills, and we can have a whole separate discussion about that. But surviving and paying your bills is completely different from becoming a $1 million company. And you know that's true. Paying your bills and being able to eat is a completely different life than trying to become a $1 million business. And so a lot of spiritual teachers, especially the New Age spiritual teachers, they know that, and now they're using your material desires in order to inspire you to go on the spiritual path. But you're walking yourself off the cliff. Now, first and foremost, there's nothing wrong with material desires. But don't mix and match. Don't mix them together. Don't kid yourself by thinking, oh, I'm on the spiritual path, but deep in your heart, yeah, it's because I want to have $1 million business. Or I want to find that husband that's going to take care of me. Then your initial entry to do inner work and to go on the spiritual path is not a pure one. The intention isn't pure. And so therefore, the gates towards your higher self will never open, because vibration doesn't lie. You see, our words lie. The words out of our mouths very often is a lie. But your vibration is not. Your vibration speaks louder than the words coming out of your mouth. So if you think you're hiding it well by saying the right words and saying the right things, even to yourself, if you're trying to do like positive affirmations because you're trying to trick your brain or trick yourself into thinking that one day, maybe one day, I have had enough people around me, and more than enough people around me, to know this is a slippery slope, and this is the door, the portal that opens the dark feminine. It has taken me this long to start getting comfortable about having this type of conversations about the dark feminine. Because this is what it's about. There always has to be an adversary. If we want to rise the divine feminine within us, we're going to be met with the dark feminine. And she's a tough cookie. It's hard to deal with her. So first I had to deal with my own dark feminine, which I tell you all about in my spiritual awakening story and what happened to me. So if you're interested in that, you can go on my YouTube channel and you can look up my spiritual awakening story and you can see it there. I give you all the details. In short, I had my phase 1 small awakening in 2012. Then I had my phase 2 big awakening in 2017. And then I had my phase 3, which is the final phase, total transformation, which was in 2019. And then from 2019 until now, I have been in action mode, because once you completely align and you go through phase 3, total transformation, you will be able to say, okay, let's do this. It doesn't mean it's going to become easier or that all of a sudden you're going to manifest like this, but you're going to be in complete alignment with where you're going, what you're doing. And all you have to do now, it's a lot, but you still have to find the words in order to convey your message loud and clear. You're going to become so clear in what you're doing, who you're doing it for, where you're going. And as soon as you start to get comfortable in the expression of that message, you're going to start stepping faster and faster and faster and faster and faster, because that's what unconsciousness actually does to us. Before my awakening, I would still be brave. I would still have ideas. I would still want to do things. And I would kind of half execute them because there wasn't a really good plan for it. But there was this instinctual feeling like, look, but I think I can. But I would always hit a wall. So I would do something, jump on it, get successful at whatever it is that I'm doing. When I arrived in Abu Dhabi, it was 2005. Yeah. I decided I'm going to be a model. And my husband was like, well, a lot of women want to be a model, but are you sure? Yeah, I'm sure. It was like this thing that I always wanted to do in my home country. I'm from the Netherlands, but I never got to do it because they were always telling me I'm too fat. Yeah, in the Netherlands, they want you to be a skinny twig. At that time, in the year 2000, I was always too fat. But in Abu Dhabi, they love me. They love my curves. They love my face. They say I have Arab features. So when I decided to model in Abu Dhabi, it was like, let's just try it because you never know. And I didn't have an attachment to it that this had to work. It was just an a gut instinct. And I just followed it. And it worked out. It worked out fabulously that I actually started to attach to my identity as a model. But then what happened? 2008, 2009, the economic crash happened and it had a big impact on my work. All of a sudden, advertisers weren't willing to spend money anymore. So whatever I was doing in a month, all of a sudden reduced to like maybe 25%. And it felt like, oh snap, I can't 100% count on this job or attach to this. I didn't realize it at the time. Now I do because I'm in the awakened state. I got comfortable because it was 3 years in and I thought, oh, I'm on a roll. I'm going to take this to the next level. That's what I thought in my mind. But Boom! 2008, economic crash. Everything fell away. Everything fell apart. Lucky for me, the type of work my husband does, he will never be out of a job. So he has always been this consistent, stable factor in my life, which allows me to be this creative and spontaneous and take all these risks. And of course, with my husband's permission, because I discuss everything with him first before I do anything publicly. So he has my back, but he's also asking me, what you gonna do? Well, at the time, I was like, okay, I need to diversify my portfolio. And this is becoming a longer story than necessary. But the moral of the story is that if you are focused on material desires and you have no awareness of self, you have no awareness of your higher self, which I did not have back in the day, whenever things go wrong or whenever things go in a direction that you have no control over, you will start to think that you did something wrong, that you have created this situation, or you get angry at what is happening because you have no control to change it, but also you don't have the motivation to do anything about it, because in that moment you have to pivot. And so I feel that the spiritual teachings are not teaching you how to pivot. They're teaching you how to be focused on one goal and go after that goal, but this is not how life works. Life goes up and down. You have to maneuver. You have to be flexible to move with the flow, you know? You gotta move with the flow. And you gotta, sometimes move out of the way because things are coming your way. And it's like, oh, it's coming. And you need to see it coming. I keep seeing the light change. I'm not, okay. You gotta see it coming. And so when you have blinders on, you don't see it coming. And so the first time this happens to you, you're like, whoa, I didn't know this could happen to me at this level, that I could come to a complete standstill, even though I was in the flow, I was on a roll, I was doing really well. And now I'm at a complete standstill. Neuroscience says the frontal cortex doesn't stop growing until 28. So only when you're 28, your intellect is fully on. We can debate that, right? But technically speaking, theoretically, on a neuroscientific level, at age 28, you are at your highest capacity of understanding. And by that time, you've lived a little. You've had some ups and downs. And if you're married and if you have kids, yes, then you really are on that fast train. So where am I going with this? Is that if you're feeling stuck, if you're not feeling yourself right now, it's because unconsciousness is keeping you still, is making you stand still. And it feels like you're not moving forward. There's no continuous improvement. And that feeling is real. But because it's unfamiliar, because it's a feeling you haven't learned how to identify, it's a feeling you haven't learned how to deal with, it's something new, but your mind doesn't know what it is, so it starts searching in the past to find out, where have you felt this way before? And so now, something that's supposed to be a new feeling, it's supposed to put you on a trajectory that leads you towards your higher self. But instead, what does our ego do? Our ego basically turns us around in the other direction. Not the ego, the shadow self. The shadow self turns us around in the other direction. And we're basically standing still. Now, of course, in an ever-moving, energetic universe, we never stand still. So what is happening? You're actually moving backwards. You're breaking down what you've already built. So standing still is not just detrimental because you're not moving forward, you're not creating anything new, you're not moving towards your future self. Standing still is an oxymoron because there's no such thing as standing still. String theory says we are vibrating strings. We're constantly vibrating, we're constantly moving. So if you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards. And even backwards is not really the right way to say it, but it's the best way to describe it to make it make sense. And so, if you're moving backwards, what does that mean? Now, on a physical level or on a physics level, second law of thermodynamics. When the work is done, entropy increases. So, if we don't keep moving forward, whatever we have will be broken down, will be taken away. And I come full circle with my modeling story of Abu Dhabi because I was complacent. I wasn't moving forward. I thought, oh, this is the life. This is great. This is it. I can do this all day, every day. I'm so happy. I can do this for the rest of my life. But I wasn't creating continuous improvement. So what happened? I got complacent. I started to stand still. But the universe doesn't stand still. So I started to move backward and create more entropy. Now, this is not necessarily my doing. This is universal law. So guess what? On a universal level, entropy is created. Hence, the economic crash in 2008. So we need to be prepared for things like this. And if you have lived a little, if you're a little older, you will probably have one or two stories like myself that are in alignment with this type of experience that you know, yeah, once you receive it, doesn't mean it's going to be with you. And so what is happening right now in the world is that many people might have built something. They might have built a legacy. They might have built $1 million business, but something will always happen and then it will be taken away from you. And these people fall into a deep, dark, sad depression. And that's when you come to the realization, oh, it's not about material manifestation, but maybe for people like that, they might already are in such a dark place that, I don't know, I'm not a psychologist, so I don't know if or how. It's possible, of course, but they would have to work really hard now to get back to that feeling of being on top of their game, because they've attached, like I attached my identity to being a model. Now they've attached their identity to being this successful person. And if the success falls away, they just become a person again. And that's when it becomes a slippery slope. So what I want to do with Fabulous One Philosophy is activate your intrinsic motivation so that you move towards your higher self and not towards a material goal. And when you move towards your higher self, the biggest difference is that moving towards your higher self puts you on the path of least resistance, because there's no more attachment to any material desires. There's no more attachment in your outer world that you need to have. Now what you want to have is the higher self. Now who you want to become. And so you make a mind shift of becoming the higher self. So now all you're focused on is doing the work to go to your higher self. And guess what? That is in hand in hand. That is hand in hand with the path of self-actualization. It's yin and yang. So it's one and the same. But you don't understand or realize that. And that's also probably the reason why we sabotage ourselves. It's probably the reason why we sabotage ourselves, because we don't know that self-actualization and self-realization go hand in hand. So you will never progress further than you allow yourself to be. And back in the day in 2005, 6, 7, and 8, I had no understanding of that whatsoever. So if good things happen to me, oh, great, I've manifested it. If bad things happen to me, oh, that sucks. What did they do wrong? Why did they mess it up for me? Right? There was no accountability that I might have a hand in it by being complacent. Had no idea. Because on the outside, my life looks successful. My life is phenomenal, it's great. Married, wonderful provider, husband, modeling, living in a fabulous country. Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates is a fabulous country to live in. No exaggeration. My daughter was born there. When my daughter was born, I became a stay-at-home mom. But I had a fabulous time as a stay-at-home mom, but that's a story for another time. And my life was just great, but with no understanding of who I am. And that's really important. And especially now in the day and age that we're living in, and our children are growing up, and they're looking for themselves, and they're trying to figure out who they are. It is so important that we mothers know, remember, awaken, and become, not become, but understand who we really are, so that we can embrace our true identity and express it in a way that really inspires our children to do the same. And so unconsciousness is what keeps the blinders on, and it doesn't allow you to see where you're going. It doesn't allow you to see who you are. It doesn't allow you to see the fabulous life you have already created, and that there is more in where you already are. There is if you go deeper, if you dig deeper, if you go in there, instead of always disregarding where you are and trying to move to where you think it's right. But stay where you are and find that wholeness within you to understand that where you are right now is right. And so that's a whole different perspective. That's a whole different way of seeing yourself, seeing the world, seeing others, but also how you're going to position yourself as a mother, as a wife, and you're going to be such an inspiration to your family. And to go back, because I know I have the tendency to go from this place to that place to this place, but I always bring it back somehow, some way. I will bring it back. What I was trying to say is that, oh, now I lost my train of thought. So now I'm coming as well full circle about the fact that I'm saying my teaching, Fabulous One Philosophy, is not for the beginner. It's for the intermediate and advanced mother who has already some level of understanding about spiritual processes, about metaphysical concepts, because it is us women who are educated enough, intelligent enough, especially intelligent enough to understand, but we have a hard time embodying. And because we have a hard time embodying, which is the arena of the divine feminine energy, we seek something tangible, something more realistic that we can focus on in order to do our inner work, but not realizing that by placing that goal in front of us, that it's actually not leading us towards our higher self, but away from our higher self. because everything you focus on in your outer world changes, and you have no control over those changes. Second law of thermodynamics: when the work is done, entropy increases, and this applies on a universal level. So you have no control over your outer world, but you do have control over your inner world. So if we bring it back to our inner world and we start walking on the path towards our higher self, that's the path of least resistance. So it doesn't mean you're not going to create anything anymore. It doesn't mean you're not going to manifest anymore. It doesn't mean you're not going to actually achieve your goals. You're going to achieve your goals, but now you're going to achieve them with ease, because you're not moving towards that goal, you're moving towards your higher self. Does it make sense what I'm saying? Because I feel I'm talking to you for 1.5 years, and I'm trying my best to get the message across, but it's not landing yet. But I'm going to work on it. And I'm going to keep working on it. And I'm going to keep talking to you, because what I want to do in my heart is clear. It's as clear as day. I've received the message from the great cosmic mother. I've received the message loud and clear, because I completely opened that portal between me and the mind of source. The mind of source, Tao, the great mother, the divine mother. We can have many names. The universal mind. You choose which name resonates with you. For me, the great mother resonates. And that's why also I have the yin yang symbol, because in the Tao, they speak very clearly and passionately about the great mother. And so when you are on the path of becoming more and more and more and more of yourself, there is no material desires that you can place in front of me that I'm going to be tempted to go after, that is bigger, that is shinier, that is more exciting than me discovering more perspectives, more aspects, more depth within myself by doing the work. And so I'm still doing the same thing as you are doing. I'm still running a business, I'm still creating content, so I'm still doing all the practical work and the practical stuff, but there's no goal attached to that in the sense of an attachment. My goal is to become the full expression of myself and move towards my higher self and try to see how close can I get? How close can I get? The embodiment, being more and more my higher self, the walking, talking higher self. Because once you start elevating that vibration, everything is going to start magically flying towards you. And because you're speaking from a place of genuine caring, genuine interest, you will detach from your physical world, which is phenomenal. Because now whatever you need to do, the work becomes clear and you're going to do it. There's no more dual nature within you that is going to differentiate between, but I like to do that and I don't like to do this. When you're moving towards your higher self, and that's the goal, you're going to do whatever you need to do in order to get there. And so there are not a lot of teachings out there for mother, and there's no teaching out there for mothers to teach you what that really means. You know, back in the day, there were monks. And monks, they would go to a monastery and they would have a master. Their life and their resistance does not resemble the life of a mother. So you wouldn't even be able to draw any parallels with someone who is choosing to walk the spiritual path but doesn't have a family, who isn't married, who doesn't have children. It's a completely different scenario. And so now they're making us women feel that if we are married and we have children and we are fully invested in the matrix, basically, that there is no way for you to become a spiritual master, because you would have to isolate yourself, you would have to retreat, you would have to leave all your belongings behind and go to that monastery and stay there. And so I'm here to tell you now, with Fabulous One Philosophy, that's no longer the case. And we women can come together and create this online monastery where we can help each other reach the awakened state in the comfort of our own home.